How are you guys? And welcome back to my channel. So thank you very much for 2022. We reached 61,000 viewers. So that was very exciting and I'm very grateful. So please like and subscribe and also tell your friends about my humble little channel exposing Jehovah's Witnesses and also giving support and hope for those who have made the decision to leave. So thank you very much. And also all your messages, all your Christmas messages and New Year messages, they're really appreciated. So from my family to your family, thank you very much. So we're here in 2023. So I just wanted to talk about a couple of things that we're going to see in terms of Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, as we've mentioned previously, that Jehovah's Witnesses have been consolidating their power pretty much on the online space, where the focus, at least for the last few years, has been to sell off assets, and there's been various reasons for that. Some is, of course, to fight the cases of sexual abuse or misconduct in that regard in the courts. And also, I think the bigger picture was that the business model that they had, which was the printing business, had certainly had died, and that was redundant. So they'd gone on to the online space, and that certainly is where the money is, and that's something that is essential for Watchtower, because rather than it as if it were surviving on divine approval or divine protection, it's quite simply, as any corporation, it needs money. And we know that the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses have spoken about the great need, or to put it this way, the great deficit that they claim that they have, which is really not it's not feasible, because the structures that they have, the outgoings would be absolutely minimal compared to the amount of money that they receive. But that's for another video, to sort of discuss where the money's been going or what they've been investing in. But anyway, what we've seen, and I want to thank Mike and Kimmy, and I hope that you see this video and please continue your great work. And yes, I like the green screen. I love it. Just the other day, they were talking about how Watchtowers Fallen, and I think Mike did a really good roundup of that. Is that while many would like to see the doors close in all the kingdom halls and the out of business sign put across the front of the New York compound, that's not going to happen. Multi-billion-dollar corporations don't simply do that. They morph into other entities. They break up. They divest themselves or go into other areas of business. They're just basically, almost, to put it this way, they're too big to fail. And I think in many ways Watchtower is that. But what Mike hit on, which is, I want to thank you for your comments, and I totally agree, is you've got to look at what drives the organisation. And that is that the pull factor to Watchtower has always been that they are the quintessential religious outsiders. So when people are attracted to Jehovah's Witnesses, it used to be that they, for instance, were Catholic, or, as my family was about 100 years ago, Greek Orthodox, and the hypocrisy and the religious traditions that they experienced. Jehovah's Witnesses will say, well, look, we're different to all of that. We don't behave that way. We don't have that hypocrisy. We don't have these what they call man-made traditions. You come to us, we're basically a religion that's not a religion. And of course, as Jehovah's Witnesses, or former Jehovah's Witnesses, even present Jehovah's Witnesses will attest to, is enemy number one for Jehovah's Witnesses is Christendom, which is crazy, ruled by Christ. That's the dominion of Christ. And they say they're no part of Christendom. Now, certainly, as a former Jehovah's Witness and now Christian, I know full well that, yes, they're no part of Christendom, because their behaviour, their policies, for anybody that wishes to look at the Bible, it's clearly not a Christ-driven religion. It is an organisation that is hell-bent on making itself the focus of religious consideration, not the one-to-one relationship with Jesus Christ, if in fact you are a Christian. Anyway, the point is that what Mike said is that they have fallen in that you have a look at their behaviour, especially in the closing part of 2022, where the likes of Kendrick, who as the media whisperer did the rounds to many networks, putting forward this idea that Jehovah's Witnesses are really middle of the road Christians. Nothing particularly austere, nothing particularly liberal, just middle of the road Christians doing the best that they can, working in the community, what I call the small target, and trying to put across that jw.org, this now massive online platform, is really a tool for all people in the community. This is sort of the nonsense that they're putting forward. So what has become very clear is that the Watchtower Society knows that the exposés that are coming out, not just in terms of the child molestation networks, and that's what they are, the networks of dangerous pedophiles that have been operating within the organisation for decades. This is not just one-off occurrences. This is a tapestry of men that have found their way into an organisation that has been a safe haven in many ways for them to work their evil and demonic trade of interfering and damaging young ones. Now, how does this work? Why has Watchtower fallen? First of all, it's fallen because its only safe haven is not in some, miraculous hand of God moment where their God Jehovah comes and protects them. The only safe haven they have is in the legal system, in the political arena. So what Jehovah's Witnesses have managed to convince, and this is very sad, is managed to convince many governments around the world that they need protection. And for some reason, governments unfortunately have not even taken the balanced or nuanced approach of trying to understand why people like myself and many of you that are watching, why we speak out, why we are so adamant that Jehovah's Witnesses need to be exposed for their teachings, for their policies and procedures, which in many ways literally hinder law enforcement around the world. It took people like us to speak up, to protest, to actually go above and beyond our general walk in life, to put ourselves out on a limb to get the authorities to act, like we had here in Australia, where the ARC, the Australian Royal Commission, that looked into abuses within the non-for-profit sector, and which Jehovah's Witnesses were brought kicking and screaming to that inquiry, or the inquiries held in the UK or in NZ, in New Zealand. Okay, it took us to bring it to the authorities' attention. Jehovah's Witnesses, without us speaking up as whistleblowers, they would never have made the decision, which we see in their literature now, that if the local authorities request that issues of sexual abuse be reported to the authorities, that Jehovah's Witnesses should concur. Now, that isn't good enough. That's not good enough, but that is a huge victory for us, because we know that our actions have got the organisation to act. Now, that is through essentially their political masters. And I think that's a very difficult thing for many Jehovah's Witnesses to understand, is that Watchtower only exists because of the legal and political system. If there wasn't the special, and people say undeserved at times, the special position that religions hold in, especially in Western democracies, Jehovah's Witnesses wouldn't exist. Their entities wouldn't exist. The tax-free status that they hold, and which are able to move money around and property and so forth, the millions, if not billions of dollars that's run through their fingers, that wouldn't be possible if, in fact, Jehovah's Witnesses hadn't hitched their wagon on the special relationship that the church has with the state. Now, they are willing, this is Watchtower, they are willing to lie to the authorities about, in a sense, their positioning within regular society. Now, the fact is you could go through a list of the, I suppose, the mainstream, for instance, Christian churches, and you will not find one of them that says, well, if you're not Church of England, well, very, very soon, God is going to come and kill you and your family and your children and your next door neighbours and all of that. That's not going to happen. Okay? Nobody is going to say that in the mainstream churches that unless you are of our persuasion, that you're a dead man or woman walking. They're not going to say that. In actual fact, that would be an abomination to say things like that. Now, also, for a group like Jehovah's Witnesses who forbid its members voting, what does it do? It spends its time promoting itself to the political class, and also lobbying for it to be included or to be written into the constitutions of many lands. I've mentioned this a number of times. Here in Australia, they have been pushing for a Bill of Rights, in which they would be, of course, written into that. And as I said previously, here in Australia, they claimed that they were receiving the same persecution as Jewish people. So I did a bit of a video on that previously. But going into 2023, the thing is that what has happened is that not only do we have the situation of the pedophile networks being exposed, and the grand jury, of course, we had in the United States, and other high-profile cases. We've actually got one here in Australia, in my state of Queensland, which is before the courts, and there is alleged multiple victims of sexual abuse, and that is going to, well, we'll see what happens here, but this is being exposed. This is being exposed, and so Watchtower's trying to get ahead of that, and that's why we've got the likes of Hendricks and so forth as basically chief propaganda minister, getting out there and being a media whisperer. But the second point, which has really raised its ugly head, is that years ago it was viewed, and I know being raised as a Jehovah's Witness, that inside the Kingdom Hall, there was this angelic protection. But what we're seeing is, unfortunately, there has been a number of high-profile murders that have taken place within Jehovah's Witnesses. So what is happening is, rather than Jehovah's Witnesses facing the issues of how or what is the circumstances for such animosity towards them by members within their own ranks, why there would be these situations happening, they are spinning this in the media that this is just part of issues of gun control, or this is just violence that's occurring everywhere. And that's true. There's no doubt about that. There is gun violence everywhere. But what we see is that we need to get to the root causes of why an apparent mainstream religious group, why is this happening? Why is there this discontent with its members? Now, the issue is that many people are coming forward, and whether or not the authorities are yet taking this seriously, but the psychological damage that is being done because of their disciplinary process, their disfellowshipping process, which leads to shunning, which leads to anxiety, depression, alienation, broken families. And we know that that those who have gone through this suffer greatly. It's something that we deal with for the rest of our lives. And there's been some tremendous documentaries recently produced about the effects of the disfellowshipping process. Now, the fact is, for Watchtower, is that they want to get themselves to the high ground in which they are completely embedded into the system. That is the only way that they will survive and to prosper. So, as I said in previous videos, and I think 2023 is going to be more of the same, is that the media blitz, which is the idea that Jehovah's Witnesses are same but different to all the other Christian denominations, will continue, and that they fit comfortably within sort of the middle of the road Christian belief systems, is something that is needed so that their end goal, as I said, is for them to be in a protected situation, so they can continue the work that they do, which it used to be, as I said, drawing people away from the mainstream Christian groups, but now it's about those who are alienated from society. They're vulnerable. Now, what we have here is that they, at least in the past, there was, I suppose, a more hard-nosed approach to at least their messaging, that it was gloom and doom and so forth. And now we have these walking two sides of the street. One is, of course, that they are, as I said, middle of the road Christians, and on the other, the private messaging for those within the congregation is that the end is nigh and it's imminent. Now, we know that when the COVID pandemic really was in full force, Jehovah's Witnesses were told that was only months away. Of course, I made a video on that saying that, yes, it's obviously terrible and distressing and horrible, But we will get through this. We always have, and we will. Secondly, when it came to Ukraine, this was, once again, we're standing on the doorstep of a great cataclysm. And as I said, they didn't say that when 1 million people in Rwanda were hacked to death. They didn't say that and don't say that with the absolute devastation in Syria or in the Democratic Republic of Congo or other areas of Africa. They don't say that, but we have these sort of cherry-picked, these high-profile situations that seem to catch the media's attention, and they use this for leverage. So in closing, what I see, and I want you to to comment, to have your opinion on this, is that their shift onto the online space gives them the ability to, in their mind, to control the narrative. Now, when you go looking for, let's just say someone meets Jehovah's Witnesses, maybe in the park with their carts, and they talk to very nice people, and the great majority of Jehovah's Witnesses they're lovely people. It's never been about the personnel, it's only been about the puppet masters at the top that are the ones that decide what the rank and file will believe, has always been the issue, especially for me. But anyway, they meet Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, the minute that they think, I wonder who they are, and they type in Jehovah's Witnesses, I mean, there's probably more traffic on Jehovah's Witnesses, and I'd say negative traffic, than any other religious group in the world. Okay, the amount of online traffic is phenomenal. So what Jehovah's Witnesses are doing is they know that they, number one, are a PR disaster. Secondly, that they have been hemorrhaging members for now at least a decade. The figures that are coming out are from, I would say, the established Western countries, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, UK, US, Europe, where Jehovah's Witnesses have had a presence for well over 100 years. If you actually look at the figures, there is absolutely no growth in Jehovah's Witnesses at all. And in actual fact, with the aging population of Jehovah's Witnesses, there will actually be a depopulation in most of these countries. So it's a very, very, very difficult story for them. The only growth that they are seeing in real terms is the developed world, and unfortunately, that's very difficult to combat, because people that are living in terrible conditions want hope. They want something to be better. They want to be uplifted. And of course, Jehovah's Witnesses are becoming more and more sophisticated in presenting their worldview by means especially of the new media platforms that they've got. So going forward, what I see is that Jehovah's Witnesses are going to try to get on the front foot through the media centres. And it's very interesting that pretty much left-leaning media outlets who essentially stand for everything that Jehovah's Witnesses don't, which is tolerance, which is an open and a liberal view of morals and lifestyles, for instance, which Jehovah's Witnesses are completely opposed to, seem to be giving them this open platform, which is bizarre bedfellows when you think about it, what the views of Jehovah's Witnesses are. But I think that's something for us to keep our eye on for 2023 is the expanding media presence of Jehovah's Witnesses. And I think one of the things that we can do is, if, I know in the United States especially, and also in the UK, they seem to be really focusing on their media presence. What I would say is one of the ways that we can combat this is by responding, giving a review, maybe even quoting some Watchtower policies that show quite clearly that what is being said to the general public is not the actual internal views of Jehovah's Witnesses. But I'm very excited about 2023. I think a lot of good things is going to happen for us. And for all the activists, continue doing what you're doing. We need, as Mike and Kim, going back to them, have said, we need diverse voices, and that's really important. We need more people to give people their account. And if any opportunity comes up for us to speak to local authorities or so forth, I think that we should take that opportunity. But thank you very much for listening, and I wish you the very best for 2023. I'm Matt Christopher, and thank you for liking and subscribing and to following my journey of truth telling. And I wish you all the best for this year going forward. Thank you very much. Talk to you soon. Thank you.